And I'd like to introduce everyone, of course, to the next section of our program, which is a discussion. Now, to help us pick the minds of our experts, we've also invited a fellow expert. He has over 30 years of managing one of the largest and most profitable funds in the country, and he is currently the portfolio management expert of COL Financial. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Marvin Fausto.
Hello, hello. Hi, good morning. Hello. Juanis. The good, the sad, and the ugly. I like that. But what I want to understand is Dr. Paul Kidney explained that there is a flow from the global markets to the emerging markets. And I think that is the one pushing the Asia as well as the Philippines, the flows that's coming in. But he also mentioned some risks like possible recession in 2020. What I want to understand, April, one is explained that there's a good and a sad, but 85% chance. What are the fundamental catalysts? Can we still expect? Because our market is like 8,000 on the index. What other fundamental catalysts can we expect for the market to sustain or even go higher to your target of 8,600?
I think a reserve cut is definitely good news from the BSP. So maybe this year we'll see a 300 basis point reserve requirement cut. So that's definitely very good news for the market. Yeah.
That will add what? Like how much liquidity in the market?
I think 100 to 200 billion per 1% cut. So it's a lot, yeah.
So that would be positive on the banks, no?
Positive on the
earlier
banks,
you mentioned that there will be some good earnings growth for the banks.
Yes, the banks are actually expected to deliver very good earnings this year, double-digit growth. In 2018, to put things into context, the earnings growth of banks is only 1%. So this year, I don't think it's like 13 to 16% thereabout. So very good earnings this year. So you'll have slower loan growth, but it's not going to go down. Meron pa rin, because we'll still see around a 6% GDP growth. So that said, you'll still have an increase in the loan growth. It's just not in the same level as in 2018 or 2017. Babagal lang siya, pero meron. Plus, of course, the higher margins that we've all been waiting for so many years. Finally, we're seeing it happening. And yun nga, the trading gains, which were non-existent in 2018, biglang magkakaroon this year.
That's good. So you have opportunities in the banks, no? What particular bank did you say? Is that Metro Bank and Security Bank? If I were going to choose which one is it will you choose?
For me, at this stage, it's more of Security Bank, simply because last year, the sell-off of Security Bank was really an overkill. Because ang issue nila with Security Bank is the funding cost of banks went up significantly last year. Tapos diba initially nagkaroon ng reserve requirement cut, which is good. Ang problema kasi between let's say the BDO, BPI, and Metro Bank, Security Bank, yun yung four favorites ng mga investors eh. Ang Security Bank is a much smaller bank, therefore it's more dependent on time deposits. So last year when rates went up, they were more aggressively raising time deposit rates, which is not good. And not to mention the loans to deposit ratio of Security Bank is also higher compared to Metro Bank, BDO, and BPI. So mas ano siya, mas lent out. Therefore, mas malaki yung pressure. So it was sold off quite significantly to the point that it was trading at one point below 1 times price to book value. So it was really cheap. So now it has recovered a little bit, pero feeling namin may upside pa.
I think you have there the fair value of Security Bank is like 205 pesos. That's a
205,
good
yeah.
yield upside, no?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And also the bank is, I mean, in terms of business, it's performing well. The retail business is growing very fast, which is why, a lot of people like it. The retail operations where the margins are higher and it's less penetrated, that's where they have decided to focus on.
Now, while the slide is already here, no, the Calling the Shots, April, she comes out every month, no, in the website. You can catch her Calling the Shots, where she puts all of these stock picks, and you have here already the 11, no, 11. If you're going to choose which one of these stocks you put a big bet on, no? Which one will be the ones that you will pick?
Yeah,
marami 11 din.
Yeah, as discussed earlier on, of course my bias will be on the larger cap ones. Like AC, I think just want to highlight also, I think people were asking about Ayala Corp. I think it has to do with the share placement. There was a bit of a worry about that.
Yeah.
But then, not to worry, it's a secondary share placement, meaning nagpalit lang ng shareholders from Mitsubishi to the fund manager. So that shouldn't affect the fundamentals of AC. So that, for me, creates an opportunity to buy the stock at a cheaper price. So, I'd buy AC, then of course I'd buy Security Bank. The thing is, the others, I like their value. I like their fundamentals too, except that I feel like they are expensive. So let's wait for prices to go back to the buy below levels before we start looking at them.
So they should watch the buy below
Yes.
levels. So I like what you said about the big caps, no, because this flow is really going to be moving first on the big caps. But you mentioned the placements, no, and I recall there was another stock that had a placement.
It's Pure Gold.
Yeah, it's Pure Gold, no? You saw the stock price went up and there was a sudden placement. And don't you expect that to happen also with the other stocks, like the banks, for instance?
Yeah, for the banks this year, we are anticipating 2 banks to do some share placements. First one will be BDO. Based on the CET levels, the minimum requirement is I think 11%. They're at 12, so medyo malapit na sila. Si East West Bank also, there's a share placement risk. So the 2 banks, yun.
I saw BDO, like I was looking at the chart, and I think the stock price is really moving up.
It's very expensive.
So is that an opportunity for you to sell and wait for the placements to come in?
Yeah, hopefully. I think yeah, it was a good opportunity to sell it first. Kasi what happens, no, share placements aren't really bad, except I think fund managers have a tendency, diba, if they have a certain level of exposure to the stock, what they'll do is when they find out there's a share placement, bebentahin na lang nila muna. Then they'll exercise the rights. Yeah.
Hintayin mo na lang when it goes down, diba? Yeah. Now, you spoke of other risks, at least fundamental risk, and one of them, I think maybe I'd like to understand more of on the elections, no? While it's too early to know what's going to happen, malapit na siya eh. And then you mentioned that there will be some ban on government expenditures because of these elections. How can our investors protect their portfolio against any risk on the results of that, no? Like if it's administration or opposition or what have you, what kind of risk or strategy can they use in order to protect themselves?
Well, I think it's more, for me, I think the importance of focusing on valuations right now. I think yun na nga, mahirap mag-anticipate ngayon na we're gonna go back in the old days where prices just went up regardless of value. Right now, I think people should be more focused on value. If it's not there, then be quick to take profits and just stay on the side. I think that's one of the best ways. They can prepare for it. But I think in general naman, whether pro-administration yung mga candidates na mananalo or hindi, I think what's good is everybody is pro infra spending right now. So I think our economic growth, or the strong economic growth of the Philippines, will remain intact. I mean, I'm not really that bearish, by the way. I'm just saying the 7% scenario of the government looks malabo. But we're
GDP.
still gonna be seeing a 6% growth. I'm quite confident of that.
Yeah, 6%. It's still a growth, no? It's still the strongest, at least among the region. That will give us a lift on the earnings, particularly in the earnings of the companies. What I'd like to find out, or maybe Juan is not going to help out, the opportunities kasi is a bit tight, meaning there is downside is protected but the upside is capped. One is, what do you think will be we're around the 8,000 level, no? What could be the measured move? Like if it goes up, how much is it going to go up, or how much is going to go down? So that we'll have an idea of how we're going to move in the market.
Well, if you test.
Yeah, there's.
All right. I think if you're looking from where we're standing right now, the risk reward is about the same. And you're talking about maybe about 250 or 300 points up, where there's about 300 to 350 points down. Let me just change.
It's weak.
Yeah, and so I think since you have a risk reward that's relatively the same, like I said earlier, it's not a good time to aggressively come into a market like this. We wait for pullbacks to support, so that when it pulls itself down, your upside increases and your risk diminishes. So it's really take some profits as this thing gets to your fair values, and then you wait for prices to come back to make it more meaningful for you.
And you mentioned some technical indicators there. If we are going to watch it very closely, I mean the tech spotlight in the website of Juan is writes every day, what particular technical indicator should we watch out for? Really, yung talagang, if this thing moves, you really better watch that technical indicator.
Well, if you're talking about whether it's maintaining the advance, on the index, as long as it stands above the 200-day EMA, or exponential moving average, there should be no point in you worrying about it. So as the picture over there shows, it's a blue line that cuts across in the middle. I've drawn it, and as long as the price stays above that, then the recovery condition remains. If that thing breaks, then something more substantial is probably coming into the picture, and then you'd have to worry about. If you're talking about specific individual stocks, on recovery swings, I will normally do one of two things. Either I will look at an indicator called the RSI that measures whether a stock is overbought or not. If it's trading over 70% or 80%, then those are good levels to start taking some profits. Whereas if let's say another thing you could also do if you don't want to use the RSI is you simply look at the difference between where prices are to where many of those moving averages are. And like in the previous slide I showed, if the distance is too far, like 5% or 7% away from those, then you know you're trading a stock that's too stretched. Then you wait for prices to be able to come back down.
So with the chart, I'm looking at it now. It's the blue line is somewhere around the 7,582. Is that
correct.
right?
That's
the one
correct.
on the left?
That's correct.
So you're now at 8,000. Your downside is about 7,005. If that breaks, that is what you're
That
referring
will worry
to.
me a lot, yes.
For as long as it's up there, you're okay.
You're okay, and the market should try to just go, it will probably sidewind and then eventually climb. But the minute that breaks, something is going on.
Why is it like that? I mean, like in the global markets naman, what technical indicators should you watch? If the local, you're looking at 200-day EMA, the exponential moving average. In the global markets, what charts should we watch that will affect our local market?
Well, some of the issues I showed earlier follow the same course. I've shown the 200-day on the dollar. We can also watch it on the U.S. index, and even all foreign fund managers watch the 200-day moving average like a hawk. So they are all trained to look at it. The more people who believe it, the more people who will act on it, then the more sensitive it becomes to market information.
Doesn't it follow, like if everybody's following it, it's not going to work? Does it work that way, or it's the reverse? If everybody follows it, it's going to happen?
Yes, I guess you can have that point of view. In fact, I've met traders who tell me this. I ask them, hey, how come you're not buying that stock? Oh, because everybody's buying the stock. And that's like the stock's been going up and away. And said, you're not buying it because everybody's buying it, so you're the only one not making money. Right? So I don't like to camp on that ground. I mean, I think as long as the indicators are telling me a particular reason, just follow it first. If it goes below, then out you go.
Yeah. So I'll follow up some questions also now. There are April mentioned some good sectors that we should look at. What are these sectors still among all the sectors in the market that still has a good upside, no? And then if I might zero in now, from that sector, what particular stock should we have at least a better good upside still, no?
On the technical front, the cement have come from basis, so cement companies may still have some upside. Some consumer stocks have gone up quite a bit. I think there might be some struggle on the upside of that. Banks are now making consolidation patterns, and I have yet to wait to see whether they're going to break out or not. April just scared us in BDO, so I can imagine what's happening on Monday. And some properties have also climbed up. I think the upsides have been limited unless they pull back. So amongst our picks there, right now the biggest upsides I would think would be cement, maybe some conglomerates, although I'll have to be very picky, and maybe very selectively also on the banks.
In the banks, yeah. So you have banks, cement.
Cement, yeah. Maybe some of the properties look okay.
Yeah. I go back to April, no? Kasi I was watching the news the other day, and there was talk of this third telco issue, di ba? What's gonna happen to that? No, this ISM is that? Can you give a comment on that, April?
Yeah, I know that's everybody's favorite. Yeah. So yeah, on ISM, kasi it went up significantly last year when it was announced that it would be given the provisional third telco license. And I guess the partners that it chose, the fact that it was with China Telecom, na medyo, it has deep pockets, aggressiveness to pursue, and, not as conscious about the profit. So, parang nagkaroon ng confidence na if anybody can do it, it's ISM with China Telecom and Mistatel. The problem is, there are some questions about the validity of the Mislatel license. I think that's one of it. But, prior to the announcement of that, tinignan na namin yung valuation. Ano ba yung pinaprice in ng ISM? And, after taking out all the other companies, the value of the subsidiary and whatever, the implied value of the third telco license is the same as Globe and Smart. So, around 200 plus billion market cap nung dalawa eh. So, yung market cap din ng buong third telco license, not ISM, just the third telco license itself is also close to mga 290 billion, maybe 280, ganun. So, I guess first of all, usually if you have a successful third telco anywhere in the world, they get a market share of 15%, 10%, maybe 20% at best. So, if you are valuing ISM's third telco as a whole, you're implying that they will get 30, 30, 30, something like that, which I think is a bit of a stretch. And secondly, it will take time before they can reach that level because, syempre, the telco business is a capital-intensive business. So, they need to actually start working on the infrastructure, and it takes time to build. So, I think si Mr. Lee later will discuss about how mining companies work. Diba? Usually, when there's a discovery, the share price will rally, and then magda-die down muna. Tapos, when the profits start coming in, then we'll see it go up again. So, at this stage, we feel like it's just a bit expensive. Tsaka, it might take time. So, I'm not too bullish on the stock.
So that's fundamentally,
Yeah.
Juanis, can you just look at the chart? May upside pa ba yan?
That must have been the most frightful thing you made me do today.
Wala sa...
Well, I don't think I can sleep with that chart in my head. But that picture looks like someone's distributing the stock. And normally when you get a major sell-off and you get a pattern like this, especially it looks a little bit like a wedge, there's evidence someone is liquidating, either maybe somebody who got stuck in there or someone who bought in that horizontal range before it broke out, who's probably taking good profits as it is right now, because it's still a difference between where the low was. And so that red line you're seeing right now is the last vestige of support. If that breaks, the cradle may fall.
Is that the 200 moving
No, that's not
average?
That's probably that's either a 50 or a 100-day moving average. Probably a 50.
No, but this is just for the traders, because
Yes.
fundamentally we're not so
But
comfortable about it.
If you're buying this company for the long term, and as April suggested, you need time for investment, capital to be poured in, wait for earnings to come in, then I think you have to be prepared that it takes time to build a big telco business in the Philippines. It's not happening overnight. This is just for trading.
Okay. Sige, for traders lang yan. But for the general market, the upside is capped, the downside is supported. How do we, maybe, I have about 3 minutes na lang in this session, but can you just give us like your parting words or your things that our audience would like to remember in this briefing? Maybe April, you might want to start some words of advice on what they should do in this market.
Yeah, kanina 'di ba, yung sinabi ko yung malamang yung tanong nila, naiwanan na ba ako? So, you know, I think medyo I'm in agreement with Juanes that it's going to be a stock picker's market. You have to be picking stocks. You just can't buy anything. You have to be wise, and ako very value conscious ako. Especially now, okay, let's just put things into perspective. As an investor, for example, during the past few years, wala tayong option, di ba? Yung mga bonds natin, masaya na tayo sa 3%. Eh ngayon, we're abounding with 7% yielding bonds. So, with that perspective, talagang valuations are much more important today than they were maybe a year or two ago. So, you know, we have to be conscious about that. And, you know, let's be patient and wait for values to come before we come back in. Yes, there's money to be made, but we need to be patient and wait for values to emerge before we come in.
This one is?
Well, I will borrow a statement that Professor Kitney said. He said, remember, markets are forward-looking. All right? So that means it's trying to price in things today that it feels that would be upcoming soon. And so, obviously, the market made the recovery thinking that maybe the end of 2018 was just too much. You know, it was oversold and prices needed a bit to make a recovery. But now we're going to have to look even forward. And if the fundamentals tell, what was that word used? Guarded optimism. And so the fundamentals are telling you, okay, it may not be an all-out bullish market immediately. It will take time, and so a trader will have to be able to buy on those dips. Don't be too gung-ho when you see stock prices starting to, elevate like a rocket ship, and you get so excited buying over there. That's not this kind of market. We're not in a runaway condition. We're going to be in a graduated condition, and so buy and pullbacks, and don't worry about being left behind. I don't think you're going to get left behind.
So stock picking, well, wait, maybe last question. What about why don't they just buy an index fund? Because sometimes it's very hard to choose. You don't know which one to outperform, which one will underperform. Can we put that in the portfolio, April?
Yeah, pwede pa rin naman. Meron namang di ba, core satellite strategy. So, I mean, if there aren't much stocks to pick anyway, then, or you don't have time. Ako still up pa naman like our target is 8,600, we're now at 8,000. So, you can still buy it, I think, kaysa namang wala. Diba?
So ride the market at least, no? So for the traders, let's watch it, let's pick stocks, look at the charts that Juan is brings out every day, and watch the fundamentals, particularly the stock picks of April. And do not forget, probably put a little bit on some funds in your portfolio, just in case you don't have much time, no? So I guess that's about the time that we have as well. So thank you very much, April. Thank you very much, Juanes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, April, Juanes, and Marvin, for that very insightful discussion.